Birthdays are meant to celebrate life, yet in rare and heartbreaking cases, they have become the setting for unimaginable loss. In these stories, moments of joy collapse into terror through sudden accidents, violence, or fatal mistakes. Here are 5 of the most painful birthday deaths ever recorded, where celebration turned into tragedy in an instant. What began as a simple birthday celebration in the French city of Rouen turned into a night of unimaginable horror, leaving 13 young people dead and an entire nation shaken. In the early hours of a summer weekend, laughter, music, and candlelight inside the popular Cuba Libre bar were abruptly replaced by panic, darkness, and toxic smoke. According to police, the tragedy was triggered by a moment that seemed harmless at first. Someone carrying a birthday cake topped with lit candles was heading down the stairs to the bar's basement, where friends were gathered to celebrate. In a cruel twist of fate, the person reportedly tripped on the narrow staircase. The candles fell, igniting soundproofing material fixed to the low ceiling of the basement, material that would soon turn deadly. Within moments, the fire spread across the ceiling. The insulation burned rapidly and released thick, poisonous gas, filling the confined underground space. Most of the victims never stood a chance. Officials later confirmed that the majority of those who died were not burned by flames, but suffocated by the toxic fumes before they could escape. Emergency services were alerted quickly as screams echoed through the bar. Witnesses described scenes of chaos as people rushed desperately toward exits. Everybody wanted to get out, one survivor told French television. Unfortunately, those who were in the basement didn't have the time to get upstairs. Trapped below ground, many partygoers were overcome by smoke within minutes. Firefighters arrived in force, with more than 50 personnel deployed to battle the blaze and rescue those inside. Their swift response prevented the fire from spreading further, but the damage had already been done. 13 lives, most of them between the ages of 18 and 25, were lost. 6 others were injured, one critically, and rushed to hospitals for treatment. Images from the aftermath painted a grim picture. Inside the bar, blackened stools stood amid shattered glass. Bottles had burst from the intense heat, and windows were blown out. The basement, once a place of music and celebration, was left scorched and silent, a confined chamber that had become a deadly trap. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve confirmed that a full investigation was launched to determine responsibility and examine safety violations. Authorities quickly focused on the materials used in the bar's construction. The soundproofing insulation that ignited was believed to contain polystyrene, a substance known to emit highly toxic smoke when burned. Its use is prohibited in public venues in France, raising urgent questions about how it came to be installed in the first place. The tragedy sent shockwaves across the country. Prime Minister Manuel Valls expressed his grief publicly, writing that he felt deep sadness over the loss of 13 young lives and offering compassion and support to the devastated families. Tributes poured in as friends and relatives struggled to comprehend how a birthday party had ended in mass death. Authorities praised the firefighters for their rapid response, noting that without their intervention, the toll could have been even higher. Still, the incident was described by French media as the deadliest fire in the country since a series of fatal blazes in 2005. The timing of the disaster deepened its emotional impact. France was already on edge following a string of violent attacks earlier that summer, including the Bastille Day truck attack in Nice that killed 85 people, and the killing of a priest near Rouen just weeks later. The bar fire, though accidental, added to a growing sense of national trauma and grief. This was not the first time ceiling insulation had been linked to mass fatalities. Similar materials were blamed for deadly nightclub fires in Bucharest and in Santa Maria, Brazil, where hundreds died after inhaling toxic smoke produced by burning foam insulation. In each case, victims were overwhelmed long before flames reached them, a reminder that smoke can be more lethal than fire itself. What was meant to be a joyful evening filled with laughter, balloons, and celebration ended in unbearable tragedy for a family in Mymensingh, Bangladesh. As preparations were underway for a young boy's birthday party, A quiet and devastating accident unfolded inside the family home, one that would turn happiness into lifelong grief within minutes. The incident took place on Monday evening in Charipara village, located in the Barbaria Union of Gafargaon Upazila. The family of local resident Roni Mia was preparing to celebrate the 4th birthday of his son, Ihan. Like many birthday gatherings, the house buzzed with activity as relatives and family members decorated the space, blowing up colorful balloons to mark the special occasion. Amid the excitement, 7-month-old Rafsa, Ihan's younger sister, lay playing quietly on a bed nearby. At her tender age, she was unaware of the danger surrounding her. While the adults were focused on party preparations, Rafsa managed to grab a balloon and put it into her mouth, unnoticed by anyone in the room. In a matter of seconds, the balloon became lodged in the infant's throat, blocking her airway. Unable to breathe, the baby began choking. By the time the family realized something was wrong, the situation had already become critical. Panic replaced celebration as relatives rushed to help the child, desperately trying to save her life. Without wasting time, the family set off for the Gafargaon Upazila Health Complex, hoping doctors could intervene in time. But the distance, however short, proved fatal. Rafsa died on the way to the hospital before she could receive medical assistance. The heartbreaking details were confirmed by Mahabul Alam, a member of the local union council, who said the incident occurred around 8:30 p.m. He described how the family's joyful preparations were abruptly shattered by the sudden loss of the infant. In an instant, the celebration turned into sorrow, he said, adding that the tragedy had cast a heavy shadow over the entire neighborhood. News of Rafsa's death spread quickly through Charipara village, leaving residents stunned and grief-stricken. What should have been a night of cake-cutting and birthday songs instead became a scene of mourning. The balloons meant to decorate the celebration became a painful reminder of the accident that claimed a young life. The loss of a child so young has deeply affected not just the family, but the wider community as well. Neighbors gathered to console the parents, many struggling to comprehend how such a simple object could become so deadly. The incident served as a harsh reminder of how vulnerable infants are, and how easily everyday items can pose life-threatening risks. Balloon-related choking accidents, particularly among infants and toddlers, are known to be extremely dangerous. Unlike solid objects, balloons can form a tight seal in the airway, making them difficult to dislodge even with immediate intervention. In Rafsa's case, the danger went unnoticed until it was too late. For the family, the pain is immeasurable. A day that was meant to mark a milestone in one child's life will forever be remembered as the day they lost another. The older brother's birthday will now carry the weight of tragedy, a date forever linked with grief rather than celebration. Local residents described the atmosphere in the village as somber in the days following the incident. Many expressed shock that such a devastating event could occur during something as ordinary as birthday preparations. Parents in the area were left shaken, reconsidering household safety and the unseen dangers that can exist even during moments of happiness. A birthday trip that was supposed to be remembered for laughter and family bonding instead became a haunting reminder of how quickly joy can collapse into tragedy. In a quiet village on the outskirts of Telangana, a celebration meant to mark another year of life ended by taking 3 lives instead, including a father and his young daughter. The families had gathered with light hearts. Shivali Raju, a 45-year-old software professional from Hyderabad, had traveled with his loved ones to Nemikal village to celebrate a birthday within the family circle. Alongside him was his close friend T. Sripal Reddy, a 44-year-old builder from Khammam, who had also brought his family. It was meant to be a short escape from routine, a chance to slow down, reconnect, and enjoy a special occasion together. After the birthday celebrations on Tuesday, the group stayed overnight at Sripal Reddy's in-laws' home in nearby Boparam village. The mood remained relaxed and cheerful. There was no sense of urgency, no warning signs that the following morning would rewrite their lives forever. On Wednesday, around 9 a.m., as the day warmed up, the group decided to step out for a swim. Sripal Reddy, his son, Shivali Raju, and Raju's 2 daughters walked toward an abandoned quarry located on the outskirts of the village. The water, still and deceptively calm, shimmered under the morning light. To the untrained eye, it looked harmless, even inviting. Abandoned quarries, however, are notorious for hiding danger beneath their quiet surfaces. Uneven depths, steep drop-offs, and slippery edges often turn them into death traps. That morning, none of this seemed obvious. As the group entered the water, something went terribly wrong. One of them appears to have slipped into a deeper section of the quarry. Panic set in instantly. In an instinctive attempt to help, the others rushed forward, but the water did not forgive their urgency. What followed was chaos, flailing arms, desperate calls, and a struggle against depths they could not overcome. Within moments, Shavali Raju, his 12-year-old daughter, and Sripo Reddy were pulled under. The remaining children were left helpless, unable to save them, forced to witness a scene no child should ever see. By the time alarms were raised and help arrived, it was already too late. Rescue teams later recovered the bodies, confirming the deaths that family members waiting nearby had already begun to fear. The water that had looked so peaceful hours earlier had become the site of irreversible loss. Grief spread quickly through Boparam village as residents gathered, stunned that a birthday outing had ended so brutally. Friends and colleagues in Hyderabad were left struggling to process the news. Shavali Raju was remembered as a devoted father who balanced the demands of his tech career with deep care for his family. His daughter, only 12 years old, had her entire life ahead of her. School milestones, dreams, and futures that would now never be realized. Sripo Reddy, described as warm and family-oriented, had simply been hosting loved ones when fate intervened without mercy. For the families, the emotional damage runs far deeper than words can capture. A date once associated with celebration will now forever be tied to grief. Birthday memories have been replaced by trauma, and the surviving children will carry the weight of that morning long after the condolences fade. The tragedy has also reignited concerns about abandoned quarries across the region. Villagers pointed out that such sites remain unfenced and unmarked, silently claiming lives year after year. What looks like a convenient swimming spot can conceal sudden drops and unstable terrain, making rescue nearly impossible once someone is in trouble. Authorities reiterated warnings about swimming in such locations, stressing that even strong swimmers are vulnerable in quarry waters. But for the families involved, these warnings come far too late. What began as a late-night birthday celebration filled with laughter and friendship ended in a scene of devastation on a quiet road in Madhya Pradesh's Vidisha district. In the early hours of the night, a car carrying 6 young friends slammed into a parked dump truck at Malua Chowk, killing 3 of them instantly and leaving the remaining 3 fighting for their lives. According to police, the group had gone out to celebrate the birthday of 19-year-old Tanmay Sharma. The friends had spent the evening at Shiv Shankar Dhaba, a popular roadside eatery, marking the occasion with food and conversation. None of them could have imagined that the short drive back toward Quarry would become their final journey together. The car was being driven by 30-year-old Jagdish Sahu, a local shop owner. Seated beside him in the front passenger seat was 21-year-old Ankit Sahu, who worked at a private firm. Tanmay Sharma, the birthday celebrant and a first-year college student, was seated in the middle. The remaining 3 friends, Jagdish Gond, Monty Ahirwar, and Tanmay Srivastava, occupied the back seats. As the vehicle approached Melua Chowk, tragedy struck. The car rammed directly into the rear of a dump truck that had been parked along the roadside. The collision was so violent that the front portion of the car slid underneath the truck, crushing the cabin and trapping the occupants inside. The impact was fatal for the 3 young men seated in the front. Jagdish Sahu, Ankit Sahu, and Tanmay Sharma died on the spot, their lives ending in a split second. Local residents and passers-by were left stunned by the wreckage. The mangled car stood lodged beneath the truck, its front completely destroyed. Emergency services were alerted, and police teams rushed to the scene. What followed was a difficult and grim rescue operation. Because the car was wedged tightly under the heavy vehicle, a JCB machine had to be brought in to pull it free. Rescue workers were forced to cut through the seats and twisted metal to reach those trapped inside. The bodies of the deceased were carefully recovered, while the 3 injured youths were pulled out and rushed to Quarry Hospital. Doctors at Quarry Hospital found the condition of the injured men, Jagdish Gond, Montia Hirwar, and Tanmay Srivastava, to be extremely critical. They were immediately referred to Vidisha District Hospital for advanced treatment. Their families were informed, and anxious relatives rushed to the hospitals, clinging to hope amid the chaos. As details emerged, the human cost of the accident became clearer. Tanmay Sharma, whose birthday had brought the group together that night, was the younger of two brothers. His elder brother works in Bhopal. His mother is a teacher at a private school, and his father earns a living as a laborer. For the family, a day that should have ended with birthday wishes ended instead in unimaginable loss. Jagdish Sahu, the driver, was known in the area as a shop owner, while Ankit Sahu was employed in the private sector. Their sudden deaths sent shockwaves through their families and the local community, many of whom gathered at the crash site and later at the hospital in grief and disbelief. Police have registered a case and launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the crash. One key question under examination is whether the dump truck had been parked without proper warning signs or reflectors, making it difficult for drivers to spot in the dark. Authorities are also looking into other factors that may have contributed to the accident. A child's 7th birthday party in Carver, Massachusetts, descended into sudden and terrifying violence when a shooting erupted inside a community event hall, leaving 2 people dead and 2 others wounded. What should have been an evening of celebration became a chaotic scene of gunfire, panic, and confusion as guests scrambled for safety. The shooting occurred late Saturday night at the St. John the Baptist Club on Silva Street, a venue commonly used for family gatherings and private events. The space was filled with adults and children attending the birthday celebration when tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface suddenly exploded. According to prosecutors, the violence stemmed from a long-standing dispute between Nicholas Muse, 23, and another guest at the party. As the argument escalated, Muse allegedly produced a firearm and opened fire inside the hall. The enclosed space amplified the danger, leaving little room for people to escape as shots rang out. The gunfire struck multiple victims in quick succession, turning the festive setting into a scene of terror. Benjamin Cowart, 27, was fatally wounded during the shooting and was pronounced dead at the scene. Another victim, 20-year-old Jalen Pina, who was related to Muse, was also struck by gunfire. He was rushed to a nearby hospital but later succumbed to his injuries. 2 additional men, aged 28 and 32, were shot and sustained serious injuries, though they survived. Investigators determined that only 1 firearm was involved in the incident. Police recovered the weapon at the scene and later connected it directly to Muse. Authorities stated that no other guns were found, reinforcing the prosecution's position that the shooting was carried out solely by the accused. In the immediate aftermath of the gunfire, Muse fled the scene. Law enforcement launched a search and eventually located him in a wooded area near Franklin Street. Police said Muse contacted emergency services himself, reporting his involvement in the incident and claiming he had acted in self-defense. He was taken into custody without further incident. The case moved quickly into the legal system. Muse was arraigned in Wareham District Court, where he faced 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of armed assault with intent to murder, and several firearms-related charges. Prosecutors presented the shooting as a deliberate and reckless act rooted in a personal conflict, carried out in a space where children and families were present. The judge ordered Muse held without bail, citing the seriousness of the allegations and the violent nature of the offense. His next court date was scheduled for the following month as investigators continued to piece together the precise sequence of events leading up to the shooting. The location and circumstances of the violence heightened its impact. The St. John the Baptist Club is typically regarded as a safe, family-friendly venue, making the eruption of gunfire there especially alarming. The fact that the incident occurred during a child's birthday party underscored how quickly personal disputes can escalate into deadly situations when weapons are involved. While the injured survivors were transported to separate hospitals for treatment, police secured the scene and began collecting evidence, including shell casings and witness accounts. The event hall was closed as investigators worked late into the night, documenting the damage and tracing the path of the bullets fired.